The next word about the constraint on which we are concentrating is primary key. Now I've been making some fundamental standards with respect to where exactly unique cannot be recognized as a primary key status. So if you can just avoid the basic confusion between the correct column or combination of columns that can be adapted as unique keys or select keys as the table, then definitely we can consider the primary key as one of the composition for that. Now as far as logical modeling is concerned, we don't have anything called as a primary key. Primary key is a composition that comes into the picture when you are coming into the standards of your physical modeling. So with respect to the physical design only, we consider the concept of the primary key, where the major role of the primary key is to see that we are avoiding the basic confusion behind the process of the unique that arises with the null compositions when you are trying to give. And unique giving great deal of confusion when composite uniques are there, where when nulls are given with values to the same combination, it will not accept the nulls. But with respect to all the columns with nulls, any number of times it goes for the sake of acceptance of the data. To avoid all these kind of general confusions, a primary key constraint will be declared. The moment you have declared a primary key, you are confirming the column on which you want to associate yourself as entity integrity state. So you are very clearly confirming that on what particular column you want to keep up the rule of the entity integrity, and you are going with that now. Now, primary keys also can be composite by nature, where a combination of columns will be considered as primary keys. Now, the most important aspect what you should always try to understand when you are dealing with the constructed composition of a primary keys is, one table can be declared with only one single primary key. Means within the table, if one's primary key has been declared, you cannot have one more declaration of the primary key. So if I am having any kind of requirement where the primary key like rules are definitely necessary for me on the other columns, in such cases the remaining number of columns will go with unique and not null like compositions. So a composite primary key is nothing but a combination of columns together as primary key, and all together since they are declared, they should be declared only at the table level. I already said any composite constraint declaration should be only at the table level. Be very clear about that. When the constraint is declared with respect to the column level composition, because upon the column, if you are trying to go for the sake of the constraint declaration, then you can declare the constraint directly by declaring primary key as a keyword. You don't need to really use any constraint names. Now, so don't you think that this could be against the rule of the process what we have been discussing? Even though Oracle's documentation says that only primary key is enough, you don't need to really go for the sake of declaration of the constraint name. We do not try to go above the standards in the industry. So relevant to the industrial standards, we should definitely go for the sake of what? Constraint name declaration. So if I don't declare a constraint name, don't you think that it can be a problem? No way. Why? Because one table has only one primary key, therefore identifying the primary key will become much easier for us. It's not a big issue in the metadata. Now when you just go in, a primary key constraint, once it is being declared, what is actually happening now? A primary key, once it is being declared, it is a combination of two constraints internally. One, the not null constraint, the next is the unique constraint. So instead of declaring a unique and not null, if you go for the sake of primary key, we have few advantages. One table can have only one unique constraint declaration or multiple unique constraint declarations. Multiple can be there. Because multiple uniques come into the picture, it's always a confusion like what is the exact column on which we need to go for the sake of what? The key status. So out of n number of columns that are existing, if we are confirming that a particular column is definitely looking suitable for the purpose of the primary key, then we convert that unique and not null column into a status of what? Primary key. And the remaining columns will be continuing as what? The alternate keys or uniques in the process. Therefore, once you declare a primary key, Oracle is internally taking the responsibility of keeping that particular column with the status of not null constraint and unique constraint together in one single place. Because whenever a primary key has been declared, Oracle will allocate some amount of extra memory for the management of the primary key. You should always understand this. There are cases where people may say like, if primary keys are declared, then memory allocations are lost. Or the Oracle's environment will be going with extra amount of memory allocation. That's not a big issue first of all. Why? Because rather than keeping the system in great ambiguity, it is better designing the system in primary key without any ambiguity. That will really save a great lot of time of your productivity and other standards. Be very clear about this. So, no doubt there is some amount of memory allocated in the blocks that we really do not worry about it, because primary key increases the consistency of our integrity standards. You need to always check that. There are few simple rules you need to always check. A table or a view that is being declared the primary key should contain only one primary key declaration. And any of these data types, what you are trying to see, these data types are never possible to be associated with the primary key standards, because these are all object-oriented data types and they do not support the primary key declaration as it is. Now, when you declare a primary key, I said, there is some amount of memory allocation that is taking place. This memory allocated upon the primary key should be approximately equal to or less than the block size. So these blocks of memory are allocated by your particular admins. So whenever you create, it's very rare, but just try to concentrate. Anytime you're declaring a primary key and then you're getting some message like block size error message is coming, let us say. In personal systems, 150% you'll never get this. It's very rare even in the industry, I'm saying. So if at all you're getting any message like block size error, it means that the memory that should be allocated upon your primary key is definitely not available in the block. Then sir, what I should do? Contact your DBA. The moment you contact your DBA, your DBA will adjust the block sizes and they'll give it to you. So there is some position called as database administrator who will take care of the process for your preparations and arrangements of working through the concept of the primary key management. So be very clear about that. Now if it is a composite primary key, the maximum number of columns that can be part of the composite primary key are 32. Not more than 32 columns are acceptable. Be very, very clear about this. And when you declare any construct of a primary key, so shall I go with table level, shall I go with column level, everything is your choice. But if it is a combination of columns as primary key, then definitely you should go for the sake of one table level. And if a column has been already declared as unique by nature, such column cannot be declared once again by primary key. Same combination or the same columns can never be declared once again as both unique and primary key at a time, because it's going to conflict through the process. And when you declare your primary keys in object-oriented architectures, they should be only for the purpose and priority of the criteria of managing the data to inheritance-like architecture. Therefore, only to the root tables. If your table is a root table, then only you can declare your primary keys. Any subtables are never accepted with the concept of the primary keys. So all the rules of your unique will follow here. The only rule that is mismatching the unique, that is not null, will be added here. And you can have one table with any number of unique constraints. But you come to the concept of the primary keys, one table can have only one primary key declaration. These things you need to understand. So you can just watch here. We are saying create table, table name. And then we are trying to say column name, data type and where. Now here we are just going with constraint name, and then we are saying what now? Primary key. So the moment I declared this column as a primary key, in this table if any other columns are there with unique status, they automatically become what now? Alternate keys as process. Be very, very clear about that. So how many number of columns your table contains, that doesn't matter here. Now we are coming to the specification. You can just watch. I'm saying create table locations. I'm saying location ID that is there as far as my table is concerned. Then we are saying constraint, the constraint name, and we are picking up the primary key status. Now the remaining constraints, they can go as it is according to your basic requirements that arise. Now declaring not null like this is acceptable. We are not having any complaints to the syntax. But technically on the standards of the industrial process, it may be rejected because it is not containing the name. So almost every time I'm reminding you this particular process, because when you present yourself, are you presenting to the interviewer as if you are really working to the industrial process? That's very important. Now coming to the construct of the process of this primary key, this is a column level declaration. The same thing we are having at table level, you can just watch. My table called as locations, when it is being created, I'm having all the other columns that are essential. After the last column has been declared with its constraint, I kept a comma, and then I'm moving down with the table level declaration by saying constraint, constraint name, and then I'm moving down with my composition of the primary key by passing the particular parameter of the column into it. So we are just going down to the table level only for the basic convenience. Now either you are at the table level or you are at the column level, that doesn't matter here. Be very clear about that. So on major sense, if you ask me, I will say it's better following the table level major number of times. Now if you are coming to composite state comes by analysis. See, taking an example from the classroom for primary key declaration, I can definitely tell you it's not too complicated. But once you are part of the industrial environment, okay, your senior may give you some instructions like a table of which should be created. But what I just say is, if you are directly in contact with the client, and when you are speaking with the client, how many number of times you can understand if the client gives you some data like this, what is there in his business, and he tells you, so please analyze and make this data in such a way that it is not getting duplicated for us. The client's major complaint is, sir, even if data is getting duplicated, I am unable to know under these kind of circumstances. Please analyze and keep the issue in front of me in a proper way. How many times you can start analyzing a system from the raw data that is provided by the client's business environment? Especially for people who are trying to keep experience into resume, either it can be 1, 2 or 3 years of process. I definitely have a question to you. If we are expecting you to give services immediately into system analysis and design, because you are saying that you are having 3 years of exposure in programming, how many number of times confidently you can take the responsibility into your hands? Year by year, as your experience is being added into the resume, how many skill sets you can show that are more than what that are existing previously? A software engineer who is really expecting a good career, he should always see that yearly once one new skill from that technology is added on. Now when I am saying new skill, I am not speaking on software, gentlemen. Please try to understand the point. In this market, the student always misunderstands the issues and he will just lose his time and money. When I say skill set, I am not speaking on the concept and composition of only software. There are 80% of works that are done absolutely in management and administration process from the software side without the help of the softwares. So like you are given one responsibility of programming, let us say. That particular module, before it is programmed by anybody, can you tell me how many programmers could be necessary? That module will take how much maximum time to get completed in coding? How much time it takes for that particular module to get into the testing process? What are the concepts of testing cases we have to implement on that? These are also skill sets only, be very clear about that. This module will be how much cost for me by investment and what is the billing I have to do to my client. If that billing has to be done, what is the kind of strategy we have to keep in the billing line? How much the client has to pay first and how much he can pay next? What are the basic contract details we have to keep into that such that the company is in the safe side of the project rather than the client dominating the project? These are all other things which are skill sets only. It's not like skill set means always some software you go on adding. When you are saying that you're having 1 year or 2 years or 3 years of experience, for all those people my question is, other than software, Do you have any other skill sets that can definitely help you to be a better software engineer in the industry when compared with other people who are just programmers? So, system is always analyzed from the client's business environment. So when the client gives you some data of his business and looking into such data, can you really plan what is the criteria of the analysis that should be done such that a table can come out of this data which is absolutely having only consistent state of information without any duplication, following the highest level of integrity, getting through the standards of RDBMS, applied with greatest level of required normalization. How many qualities you can give out of this requirement of the data that is arising? The software industry has another kind of corner which is absolutely misspelled and it is absolutely misquoted, where major number of times students are much worried about the concept of only writing the programs but nothing more than that. So, creating a constraint is not a big job, because within the classroom I have to keep your concentration, I have to make you keep your concentration on this name and the considerable standard of the primary key. This doesn't take much time, I hope so. But there is some sense, before I was creating this table, was I having any problem in real time first of all? Which domain was actually demanding me that I need a table like this? Under what circumstances in this table that column should become a primary key? What are the basic requirements of the client that are making this table to have only 3 columns or maybe 4 columns? Why this particular column is looking projectable for entity integrity? These are all questions where we are answering in these classes, which are definitely the most important questions to be answered when you are part of the industrial environments. See, I'm not blaming on your process, I'm not blaming on your part, but at the same time what I say is, are we not the people who are part of that system under which we already got spoiled, understanding software as only programming but not analysis? These are some facts you should know. Therefore, academically you have been built by programming. Nobody can deny that. Now you are once again trying to build the programming. No, programming is already part of your blood. At least by 30% or 40%, let us not worry. You can always understand programming. But programming is always done by analysis of the system. How many times we are clear with that analysis as a state? So, client always gives you his business data, or client always gives his business requirements. From his business requirements and the data, how many times you can pick up how a primary key should come into the picture. If some of your senior is analyzing the primary key and is telling you please declare it, you can always do that. But what I am just asking you students who are already keeping in their resume that they are seniors by 3 years, to your juniors, can you tell the reasons? How to identify a primary key data from the data that is existing in the business environment? Just imagine how much it will be humiliating when you are going and telling one of your junior, being your 3 years of expertise in your resume, that primary key is declared like this. Junior thinks like, I always know that since last 2 years, when you tell me something new now. Company is telling that you have 3 years experience, I am expecting something more than you. You are also coming and telling me that please keep a comma and then start writing constraint name. I already know all these symbols and syntaxes and spellings. You don't need to tell me. Tell me what you know more, because I am already aware of some issues. So, industrially, people are expecting that they want to settle down themselves properly with their exposure of experience. You have to take the state of the data from the system, and then you should know how to analyze it for the process of the entity integrities or any integrity. I am not talking about only entity. If a client's data is given or a structure of data is given in real format of his forms of papers or anything, how many number of times you can pick up that and you can just put that into the process. So, there are few standardizations that we miss always. Those things if you can integrate, I can always say you are considerable more. You just watch this data, what the client gave you, you should have patience. Okay, this very small amount of data arrangement. Sometimes when you go to the client's environment, they will give you 1 year data. Or if a client is having paper-based business, you can understand now how much the data would be. Will you have patience of turning up all the papers in which the client has collected the data and analyze? Today maybe few of the clients can give you Excel sheet. Is giving Excel sheet in front of you. From Excel sheets can you analyze the data very perfectly so that you can get a database out of it. There's an area where few people, even though they are Oracle based, they could be more considerable than the other Oracle developers who speak only on syntax of SQL and who speak on semantics of SQL. They have difference of acceptance in the markets. So when you are trying to work with the composition of the process, you just watch carefully in the criteria. Here we are having 3 different kinds of columns. These are the 3 columns on which we are putting up our concentration now. Where one of the column I am having is sale ID, the next column I am basically having is the customer ID, the third I am basically trying to go with is my product ID. Technologically these 3 columns are nothing but the compositions where the client is technologically having some kind of criterial problem now. So the client is concentrating on this and is saying that when I am doing my business, within my business process, I am always finding that there is some amount of duplicated state of information that's taking place here. Now how many times you can catch the duplication combinations? Duplication to single column is always easy. But duplication to combinations is really critical because you need to analyze the total number of columns that are participating in the process. Now here you just watch carefully, every sale should have a unique sale ID. So definitely we are having a first level confusion that the sale ID is duplicating. Now one sale always is generated by one particular customer. One customer can generate multiple number of sales, but one sale is always allocated to only one customer. So when your sale is associated with a customer, then sale and the customer data should be together or should be independent now. It should be together. Now one customer can purchase multiple number of products. So within one sale, I can say that there can be more number of products. But every product in the sale should belong to some customer and every product in the sale should be signature for some sale definitely. In that particular composition, if you take it, the sale and customer, if they are related with one another directly, customer and product are related with one another directly, in that particular way the sale and product are coming into the relation now. So that is one transitive relation that's generating between these 3 columns that are existing here. And in all these 3 columns, you watch the criteria of the process. One customer can purchase many products. Therefore, one sale can always contain many products. Now, these 2 columns to the product in this relation are showing one to many as a requirement. Therefore, finally, these 3 columns will come under the philosophy of many-to-many relationship. So, to the rule of ER modeling, there are some standardizations now. Relevant to those particular standardizations, if you are concentrating, these 3 columns are coming together to manage themselves in a many-to-many relationship. Whenever there is a many-to-many relationship, there is always a chance that if you ignore on the concept, a duplication on combinations can arise now. And in the last class we have already seen that when we are calling duplication in combinations, it is all the values to the same pattern are same. But if in one of the column the data is same, in the other column it is different, we consider that as what? Unique by nature. Now in that process I wanted to concentrate here. Here sale 001 is repeating 2 times for the customer 001 for the sake of products P001 and P002. So definitely this is a unique combination or it's a different combination? Unique combination. Why? Because by product these two values are unique. You can't say sale and customer ID is duplicated because of the product customer ID and sale ID are always what? Unique by nature. Now coming to the next level, I am having my sale 002 generated on customer 002 for the different products what he is purchasing now. But if you just concentrate very carefully, the first record sale 002 with customer 002 with product P003 and sale 002 with customer 002 with products P003. Here the combination is absolutely repeating. So this is some duplication what the client is speaking with you. Client definitely doesn't know what is exactly duplication. He tells you, when I'm putting my total sales data to my auditor is saying that there is some duplication in the sale that is making the auditing to be complicated. Now to understand that now, I was first speaking to my client. Client told me, I don't know exactly what is duplication, but my auditing people are speaking about the duplications. So please go and talk to those people. Now you went into the auditing section now. Auditing people are speaking to you in the terminology of their particular domain. How many times you can understand in which composition of the perspective they are speaking with you. In this way you could be speaking with multiple different number of domain of specialists. As a person who is having expertise in your hands for system analysis, are you really getting adjusted and are you really getting associated with what they are actually trying to say? Now here the question is, instead of repeating these two records twice for the same product on the same customer with the same sale, it could have been very specifically proper if we could have taken this particular 125, added to this this particular 50 and make it 175, then definitely I could have eliminated this record not to get duplicated. In the same construct, when you are trying to work out, instead of working out on this particular data, in the same construct from that side to this side, there's other alternate what you can do is, take this 50 and associate this into 125 and make it 175 and it becomes only one record. Now you can definitely eliminate this, saving one record of memory automatically. Now if this duplication is about to take place, how I will come to know about them? That is an area where your composite primary keys will help you. So why we should declare composite is, in combination, if any duplication is taking place, the composites will help us. Be very, very clear about that. So the criteria and construct of your composite is to just see that your duplication is not happening on combinations. To be very, very clear about this. So, when you are declaring any composite, it is not by syntax you should understand, man. How many times you are understanding this composite, what I am discussing with you, on the concept of some system that could be existing in the world. Therefore, any primary key you declare, any foreign key you declare, by classroom it is syntactical, but industrially it's not concentrated only on syntactical state, but by process of existence in the industry, it is semantical study of the system in which the business operations are taking place. So, primary keys coming in the composite states are not really complicated issues, but the thing is, before you declare, do you know the real reasons where it comes into the picture for its existence? Before I am taking into the foreign key, let us just check how the primary key declarations can take place. And it's more faster and more easy to analyze a primary key when compared with the uniques, because we don't have any headache of what? Nulls here. So we are just going with create table. We are saying sample pk01. And then we are just moving down with SAMP ID. you're going with number of 2. And then you can just watch, I'm saying constraint of, we're taking the name of that particular piece of the table and we're just trying to associate it there by the name of the constraint. And then we're just saying PK primary key. So when you're declaring the primary key at column level, we just need the keyword, we don't need any column of parameter. Now actually what the book says is you don't need to even give this, but I never considered leaving any constraint without a name. Now once your primary key has been defined there, you're calling SAMP name and you're just going with this as varchar 2 of select sum 10. I don't know with any other constraints there. So I'm saying SAMP date of date and then we are closing this. Now when you're saying describe, you can just watch here, the moment you describe any table containing a primary key, since primary key internally manages a not null, that's the only reason you can see not null here. So on any table you see not null there, you cannot confirm that it is a primary key. It could be a primary key because even it could be individual not null also. There is a very clear proof that primary key declaration is only for the convenience of the developer, but internally in programmatical standards of the architecture, it is managing not null and unique separately. So what is the proof? Just watch, when we are going with insert into, we are calling upon the composition of the table name here by saying values. I am saying 1 comma sample 01 sysdates. So when you are just going with this is the first record that's going in now. Now you just check here, I am trying to go with this as null. And then I am just moving down with this with 2. Now primary key should not accept a null value. But not null violation is which error number? Minus 1400. So you can just watch even now, it speaks on minus 1400 but it never gives any special error number. So within the primary key column, you are violating which particular business rule. To that particular business rule of the constraint only it will respond to you. So your response is only to the rule of the particular business rule what you are having. Therefore, I am violating the not null constraint here. So it will be dealing with only the not null constraint error message. But technically we are not having any not null independently, and the style of presentation is also same as what you have seen in the previous classes. This is a very specific question. Many times when asked a student, when a primary key is violated, can you tell me what is the error number you will get? Whenever you are working with the interviewer, you should always say, so for specifically primary key we don't have any error number. Within the primary key, which rule we are violating, to that rule the error number will come on the basic fundamentals of the actual constraints only. So you just watch here, we are inserting once again, and I am trying to take in the place of this null 1. 1 is already existing or not? Yes. Unique violation is minus 1. So minus 1 will come. So we don't have anything like primary key violated. Primary key column, when it is getting violated, you are violating with what kind of rule? It is either the violation of the rule as not null or violation of the rule as unique. According to that, it will be specifically speaking with you. Remember that. So, primary keys are more easy to understand than uniques because primary keys will become consistent because they are not working on what? Null combinations. Be very clear about it. Therefore, we don't need to test primary keys more seriously. Now, coming to the same table what we are having with us, currently this declaration is which declaration? Column level. Now, we are going with the same declaration, let us say, with a constructed composition of the table level. So your table level declaration is only your basic convenience. So you are declaring the table level almost all in the same constraint. We are calling the primary key as a process and we are just passing up that column as a parameter there. and that becomes your table level declaration. In both the cases, no differences for the quality and management. So that's a single column primary key, and in this table we have only one declaration to the process. Anytime you declare a primary key, watch, one of the questions that is arising now is a column having a primary key internally follows which rule?
Not null and unique.
Internally follows which rule? Unique and not null. Now I want the sample name column also with unique and not null now. So you just watch what I am doing is, I am saying constraint, I am calling my table name, let us say, underscore samp name, where I am just trying to say underscore pk once again, and I am saying primary key. Because it is also expected that it should have which kind of property? Unique and not null. I am declaring this also as what now? Primary key. But already one primary key declaration has been adapted or not.
Yes.
So in this table you want to declare two primary keys now. It is not acceptable. One table can have only one primary key declaration. Therefore, when you are having multiple unique and not null columns, your senior is analyzing which column is most suitable for the sake of what? Primary key. He will define that as primary key for you and you have to create it. The remaining columns, whatever I am expecting that they should also go with the same rules of primary key. Under such circumstances we are saying NN and we declare not null first. And then we are going with constraint. We are going with the name of the constraint with say like U and Q, and then we are saying unique. So in this way we will take the advantage of unique after one primary key has been confirmed. So in this table you can say this column is following which integrity even? Entity integrity. You cannot say this is following entity integrity, okay? This is following what now? Domain integrity. Remember that, okay? So we have to convert definitely one column into the entity integrity. The remaining columns also demanding to the same rule. They have to be kept in the process of what now? Domain. Mean that is individual uniques and individual not null. So this way you can have any number now. That's how this column becomes which kind of column now? Alternate key column. That is becoming an alternate key column. How many indexes are created on this?
Only one.
In this table there are two indexes now. One index on the column of the primary key and one index on the column of the
unique
sample. Individual indexes independently. Do try to understand this. Now, if you are going with this is the other way of managing a table that is demanding multiple columns with what now? Unique and not nulls. In such case, finalize one with the primary key, the other continue with them with what? Unique and not nulls. So technically I don't think there's any trouble for a student who has been analyzing and understanding uniques previously. So how did you catch up with the normal fundamentals what we had with not null and unique, what we discussed in the previous class? On that, your primary key compositions will become easy for you. Now in all these cases we are going with only single column primary key now. Now primary key is in which cardinality definitely?
1 to 1.
1 to 1. Yes or no? So when the primary key or unique is on single column, definitely they are following what? 1 to 1. But let us just take the issue in a very proper way. This is the table on which we are moving now. By saying sample 4. Now, I want the sample name and sample ID together as a primary key. Together, I'm speaking in combination now. So definitely my constraint should be at which level?
Table level.
Table level. So we are going with the table level declaration by saying samp ID and name. Then I am going with primary key of samp ID, comma, samp name. Okay, we are just going down through the process and we are specifying that it should be SAMP ID, SAMP name. And then we are just finalizing the process. So here once you are moving in, we are saying create table name, and we are going with the combination of the columns on the process. So automatically this will become a many-to-many in implementation. Any time you go for composite, default is a many-to-many. Now when many-to-many is said, it doesn't mean that we are duplicating the combination. What we are saying, if one column is duplicating with the data, the other column is always unique for that combination of the duplicates. Therefore, always remember, according to the theory of RDBMS, many-to-many is always a special case of one-to-many. Many-to-many is always a special case of one-to-many. You have to convert it into that particular construct and check out. So what is the proof now? You just watch, we are going with insert into, we are saying this is the table name, values 1 comma sample 01, and we are going for sysdate. Now once we are moving on to this, you just watch, it is inserting the data for the first combination. Now if you are really correct with respect to your particular uniques, what we have already discussed, then I don't think you should have any confusion. Here I am going to know acceptable or rejected? Acceptable. So is it not working on the same rules of unique constructs now? Now this is acceptable or rejected? Accepted. So when one column of data in the combination is repeating, the other columns are expected to be what now? Unique by nature. That's what is basically expected. Try to understand these constructs. Now whenever you try to work with the composition of the process, now I just want to come along with me to the rules now. We are having sample 2 already, yes or no? Now I am making this as 2. So acceptable or unacceptable? Acceptable. So I'll just take this with the criteria from 1 now. 1 is already existing, so with 2 it's not there, yes or no? So it's moving here. Then we are trying to go with the insert on sample 02. Acceptable? Yes. Now we are just moving down with, once again, the sample 03. So whenever we are moving with the constructs, it's acceptable to the process. For a normal end user, say a person who is not having an idea on composites and the rule of RDBMS, when he sees this data, he definitely thinks that this data is duplicated. You should not see data by individual columns after you declare composites. Means the end user may see the data individually, but we should see the data